Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for tuning into the Ground and Pound cast. Did you all miss me? Because I missed you. I was out for a few weeks doing Disney stuff, so I've been able to tune in to give you guys all of the news in the MMA space, but Rick and Roy were able to hold down the fort in my absence, so big shout out and thanks to them. And I am joined with Nostroidamus. We call him Roy for short. We are the Ground and Pound cast here to break down UFC 327, which was a very weird combination of fun, but also frustrating. Roy, what's your overall take on this card?
I was absolutely thrilled with the way that everything turned out, but it did not go according to my predictions in any way, shape, or form.
We are just not going to talk about my predictions. We didn't do a predictions episode, but internally we talked about who we thought was going to win. And you know what? We don't really need to talk about our scores there. Let's just talk about the fights. We don't need to go down that road.
No, it's not like anybody got every single one wrong.
Shush. So anyway, UFC 327 was a very light heavyweight heavy card. You had 3 light heavyweight fights on the main card. This was clearly a card designed around that division. We have a new champion getting crowned because you had Yuri Prochazka and Carlos Ulberg fighting for the vacant title. You have 2 other fights that were on there with ranked fighters trying to climb the rankings to put themselves into a position to fight for that title. And after it was all said and done, I have to say there's a lot more questions around the light heavyweight division than we had coming into it. So for starters, in case you missed it, Carlos Ulberg wins against Yuri Prochazka in the first round by knockout, but he injures himself in doing it. And there hasn't been any official announcement on, how bad his injury is and how long he might be out. But there's already heavy speculation. We're only 1 day removed from the event. We're not even a full day removed from the event. We're like, 14 or so hours removed from it. And they're already talking about possibly an interim title that's going to have to get put in place because it looks like Carlos Ulberg injured his knee pretty badly. And as I said just a few seconds ago, they haven't officially announced what the injury is. But I saw a video on YouTube where a doctor kind of broke down. Yes. Great YouTube channel. You should really check him out. He breaks down a lot of stuff on the medical side when it comes to UFC events. I've actually used one of his videos before on the Tom Aspinall situation, and he broke down what it looked like the injury was based off the angle of the leg and how he saw the muscle in the knee and everything shift. He says that this looks to be an ACL injury. This is just kind of an educated guess based off of what he saw. We haven't seen like x-rays and MRIs to hard confirm that, but I think this doctor definitely knows what he's talking about. Sounds like we have an ACL injury on our hands, which could put Ulberg out for in the ballpark of a year. We don't really know for sure. It's not something that just quickly heals. You're going to have surgery. He's going to be out a while if that is the case.
I've had that surgery. I tore my ACL in my left knee when I was 16, freshman year. And even being 16, I was a pretty athletic kid, as you know. And it took me a long time to come back from that ACL. And it's harder to heal as you get older.
Yeah, I remember that. So that was when you're in high school. For those of you that don't know, Roy and I went to high school and junior high actually together. And I remember that you're on crutches for a while.
Yes.
With a ugly looking brace.
Yeah, that took forever to heal.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't really know what the future is going to look like for the light heavyweight division because of this. Yuri Prochazka was actually looking pretty good in that fight. He had Carlos Ulberg hurt, and it looked like he was getting ready to go in for the kill. And in Prochazka's own words, he showed some mercy. He didn't want to just keep chopping at his already injured leg, so he's like, let's stand here. Let's stand right here and punch. He almost did kind of a Max Holloway thing a little bit. Like he pointed to the ground, like, let's punch. because he was chopping at the leg and he noticed he had it compromised. And then he's like, all right, let's go ahead and punch instead. And so they just started duking it out. And Olberg caught him. Olberg's a very powerful puncher, not the kind of guy you just want to say, hey, let's trade blows with. Olberg put him to sleep.
Yeah, so, Olberg with that left caught him just as Yuri landed a strike of his own, actually. Yeah. But Olberg has that power on that left hand.
Yeah. So, big respect to Carlos Olberg to have that injury. He was hobbling. He knew he was compromised. He knew he could barely walk. He was basically hopping around on one leg.
Here's the thing. An ACL keeps your leg from moving to the left and to the right.
Okay.
So, how you can straighten your leg, you can bend it, but it never goes left or right.
Right.
As soon as the ACL snaps, your leg can go left and right, and it does. It's like dislocating your knee with every single step.
So no stability whatsoever.
No, that's the defining characteristic of an ACL injury is the lack of stability that comes from it.
Right. And also it's got to be very painful. And
it's not immediately. It's actually a relief of pain immediately after it tears. Okay. But an hour later, it's agony.
Oh, rough. But he didn't let him stop him. He dug down deep. He's like, I'm compromised, but I don't care. I'm not going to quit. He just kept slugging it out. And for those of you who know a lot about the boxing game, a lot of the power with your punches, a good bit of it actually comes from your legs because you're pivoting, you're twisting. And even without the ability to do that, he still had enough power to put Prohaska to sleep. So I actually have a lot of respect for Olberg to dig deep, show that he is a warrior, keep fighting to the very end. Huge props to him. But him winning the title with an injury that severe could actually be a detriment to the light heavyweight division.
Yeah, what do you do now? Do you give Yuri a fifth shot at the belt?
No, at least not immediately. It's a weird situation for Yuri because, he won the title years back. He had to vacate because of an injury. Side note, this title seems to just surround champions being injured. I think this title's cursed, but that's another rabbit hole to go down. And then after that, when he tried to get it back, so he went 0-2 against Alex Pereira. Then he lost to Olberg. So it's a really weird situation because he beats everybody else. So it's like you just have him float at number 1 or 2 forever. It's almost like the Max Holloway situation. It's one of the reasons why Max Holloway switched weight classes. Yuri already said that, he had the fight in the palm of his hand and he messed up by showing mercy, so he wants a rematch. I get where he's coming from, but at the end of the day, as you just said, do we just keep on feeding Yuri title shots over and over and over? We talked about this with heavyweight
Lopez.
Heavyweight Cyril Gane. Cyril Gane keeps getting handed title shot after title shot after title shot. It's like, why can't you give other people opportunities? So it's kind of the same situation. Lopez, to his credit, has only been given 2. But if they kept giving him more, then it would be the same type of problem. So it really puts.
But he's in the same position where it's like, do you even give him another shot at the belt as long as the status quo is maintained?
Right. It's a weird situation. I think these fighters, all of them, Gane, Lopez, and Yuri, can get another title shot in the future. But with the opportunities they've already been given, you need to put them way in the back of the line. Let more people have their opportunities. Let these other fighters in the meantime rack up enough wins to say, hey, look, there is nobody else. I've cleared everybody else. Don't put them in it too quickly. So Yuri's already calling for a rematch because he felt like he had the fight won until he got caught by showing mercy. I get where he's coming from.
Let me just say, that goes against the whole Warriors ethos thing he's got going on to say, I showed mercy and I lost. You would expect him to have a little humility about it and not make an excuse.
Well, to be fair, he's not entirely wrong. I get where you're coming from. I also get where he's coming from. It is kind of a weird situation. So,
yeah, but why did he give mercy? Was it because it was the right thing to do, or was it because it could be an excuse later for not fighting his hardest?
I don't know. But I mean, he did notice that the leg was injured and said, hey, let's throw hands. He was pointing and holding his fists up. So I don't know. I was shouting at the TV, keep kicking the leg. because I knew that the path to victory was right there. But he made his decision, and the results came out the way they were, and there's not much else to say about it. So it's just a weird situation now because, Yuri, you can't just give him another title shot for at least a while. You're going to have to put him in the back of the line. You still have Ankalaev floating out there. The new champion is now injured and is going to be out for God knows how long. You had another fight, which we'll be talking about in a minute. He had another up-and-coming undefeated fighter who was probably very close to another title shot, or not another title shot, his first title shot, and ended up losing. So it's the light heavyweight division is in a very weird state right now because, what do we do with an injured champion? Do we already want to talk about an interim title? You have all these guys who are the best, but because of various reasons are probably not deserving right now of a title shot.
If it is an ACL, they're going to have to do an interim title. And then who do you even give that to? Do you give it to Roundtree?
I think if there's any
Roundtree Ankalaev,
if there's any one name I think you could do, Ankalaev seems to be deserving because he hadn't lost any of his fights in a very, very long time, with the exception of Alex Pereira, and he went 1-1 with Alex Pereira. So I could see, even though he's coming off of a loss, wouldn't be the first time we've seen someone coming off a loss still going after a title. I wouldn't be mad at it if Ankalaev is in there. But who do you pair him up against? Rick actually gave long, lengthy thoughts. He was not able to make it with us today. But let me go back and read, because he actually talked at great length about all this. And I think he brings up some very good points that we're already talking about. Let me pull them up real quick. Give me just a second, folks. Almost there. We do a lot of texting about all this, so... All right, here we go. This is from Rick. I feel like we left 327 with more questions than answers. Light heavyweight was supposed to have their new champ, but it feels a lot like after Aspinall versus Gane. Nothing is truly settled, and the division is in the same exact spot as they were 24 hours ago, only now they are down another top contender, one wouldn't think. Oberg is probably going to be out for a full year if I had to guess. He says, badass win for Oberg. And then he had some more thoughts. I'm having a hard time finding them, but he really broke down all the different contenders. What do you do with them? Because you have this guy coming off a loss. Okay, here's more of it here. Ooh, let's see. Walker fight was a total snoozer. They were saying Hokut versus Blades was the best heavyweight fight of all time. This is all of his notes overall on the card. Let me skip to the light heavyweight part. Costa looked fantastic. Yuri is a dumbass for not capitalizing on injured opponent. Light heavyweight is in a bigger mess than heavyweight now. Oberg is out for the foreseeable future. Alex is out of the picture. Only other fighter in that class on any type of streak is Dustin Jacoby, but he's ranked 14. Khalil, Azamat, Ankalaev, Yuri are all coming off of losses. Hill is washed and is out with knee surgery. Reyes is super unimpressive. Ozdemir has won 3 of his last 4 and went the distance with Oberg, but his ceiling is pretty low. So that's a really good breakdown of a lot of the top 15 for light heavyweight. It really is kind of messy right now, and I really don't know what we could do. I think at the very least, Ankalaev deserves to be in the mix. Outside of that, I think what we need to do is get some of these other big names that we just mentioned, have them face each other, and whoever looks impressive out of those, maybe push them to an interim position. But that's really the best answer I got.
Yeah, there's not 2 fighters who have earned an interim shot right now based off of their fighting or their presence to bring eyes to the promotion.
Right.
They're just not that. Yuri's the biggest name that you have.
Right.
So they're going to have some more fights. We need to see Paulo Costa go out there and fight a little higher ranked. Maybe Costa versus Yuri.
Maybe. And actually, I think we could go ahead and move on to talking about Paulo Costa here. I think we've covered everything we need to say on Oberg and Prohaska. So The co-main event was Paulo Costa versus Azamat Murzakanov. Did I say that right?
I think so.
Wow. Okay. So Azamat was undefeated light heavyweight. Paulo Costa is normally a middleweight, but he will occasionally pop up in light heavyweight. I'm not sure off the top of my head how many times he's done that, but I'm wanting to say he's done it before. Yeah, he's fought before, and I see right here he lost against Marvin Vettori at one point, light heavyweight. So actually, this is his second time fighting at light heavyweight. The first time he lost against Vettori.
And he looked impressive.
He looked fantastic against undefeated number 6 ranked Azamat. And I said this in our chat. I said, this is the lock of the night. Well, clearly I was wrong. Paulo Costa gave such an impressive performance, and he doesn't normally fight at light heavyweight, so he's not even ranked at light heavyweight, and he just beat number 6, an undefeated number 6. So do we catapult him to number 6? And now he's looking at possibly fighting these guys like Jan Blachowicz, still ranked number 5, Khalil Roundtree, not Olberg, because he's out, Yuri Ankalaev. Maybe we could do something like that with Paulo Costa.
I mean, we're not going to have any kind of downside propelling Paulo Costa over some of these guys just because at least he's entertaining.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Paulo Costa, to be honest with you. He's funny. He's got good presence. He is honestly a tad inconsistent at times. Sometimes it seems like a completely different fighter when he comes in versus other times, but this is probably the best I've seen Paulo Costa look. Like he was flat out impressive this time. He mixed it up. There was a bit of grappling. There was a bit of striking. He was clean. He was countering. He had good movement. His cardio looked good. This was third round TKO win, so it wasn't like a very quick one to where his cardio didn't get tested. Like in every single category, he looked good here. Every single one of them. Yeah,
100%. I was really impressed with his kicks. He was landing kick after kick throughout the entire fight and just piecing Azamat apart.
And he wasn't kicking in one spot either. Like he was throwing leg kicks, he was throwing body kicks, he was kicking at the head. I think Azamat blocked most of the head kicks, but he was mixing up the kicks in a way where you don't know where he's going to hit next. And he would also throw in some punches as well. Like he mixed things up very well. There wasn't a ton of grappling, but there's a few grappling exchanges, and he did look good in those as well. So this is a great win for Paulo Costa, and maybe he needs to stick with light heavyweight because I don't see him being as competitive at middleweight currently with the people ahead of him. I would like to see him stick with light heavyweight, especially right now after the weird stuff that's happened around this division with the new injured champion and
it's where his opportunity is.
Exactly. I agree with you 100%. So, he like I said, he just beat an undefeated number 6 ranked fighter. So that puts him right there where he's gunning down the top 5 guys. And you beat 1 or 2 top 5 guys, you're right there for a title shot.
Contention.
Absolutely. All right.
So. Now, up next, your favorite fighter.
All right, so I think he's my second most hated fighter. I still dislike Manel Kape a bit more. Josh Hokett versus Curtis Blades. We, as in the Ground and Pound cast, all 3 of us would have just had a complete scoreless run if it wasn't for this fight because your boy Roy picked Hokett to win. At first, if I remember correctly, he picked Blades, and then you said, you know what? No, I'm watching some stuff on Hokett, and I like what I see.
Yep.
All right, so this fight, I see some people arguing that Blades should have won, and I disagree, and I'll give my thoughts on that in a minute. I've been blabbering enough. I want you to take over, because the heavyweight division is your division anyway. Really talk us through this fight in its entirety.
All right, so when they came out, I expected Hokett to go straight to his wrestling. He's a two-time NCAA wrestling champion. He's used his wrestling effectively in the past, and he does some really creative things in his grappling and his ground and pound. I really was expecting that was where his bread and butter were going to be, but he came out and busted Blades up on the feet.
Yep.
Now, at first, he was just faster. Flat out, faster. Smaller man, way faster.
Way faster.
But Blades, to his credit, came back and gave it as good as he got it. Mm-hmm. These 2 men stood in exchange. They both took devastating blows. And both of them proved their durability. Hokett didn't have to use his wrestling to get the unanimous victory nod. He actually managed to do it on his feet. This is a tough SOB.
Absolutely. Now, I'm actually not too surprised that Hokit was not able to out wrestle Blades, because Blades actually has some wrestling credentials of his own. I don't think they're quite credentialed as Hokit, but he still has a good amount of wrestling credentials. I could actually try to pull it up real quick. And also, there's like a 30-something pound weight difference. Okay, so he's a National Junior CAA wrestling background. I don't have all of his very specific details here on like how credentialed he is. He's a gold medal in NJCAA in 2012 in the 285-pound division. So he does have some wrestling background, and even if it's not quite as credentialed, if you have that level of wrestling and you outweigh someone by 30 pounds, I don't think that they're going to be able to out wrestle you. At the very least, you could just stuff the takedowns and force it to stay standing. I saw some people, as I said earlier, saying that Blade should have won. The only reason why they're saying that is if you pull up the numbers on how many strikes was landed across the whole match, Curtis Blades landed more, but the only reason why is because of round one. If you score it like you're supposed to, round for round, I can't stand Hokit. I really wanted him to lose, and even I had Hokit winning that fight. Curtis Blades, in the opening, would you say maybe 2 minutes or so, was just getting battered. At least 1 minute. He was getting battered, and I thought Hokit was going to be finishing off Blades, and it's going to break my heart. And then Blades, around a minute to 2 minutes in, he turns it around and starts throwing some heavy shots of his own. But he was very gassed. And I think it's one of the situations where he wasn't gassed in like his lungs, like his cardio. You have gas in another type of way. If you've ever been in any kind of like very physical sport, when you get hurt, I don't know the science behind it. Sometimes when you get really hurt, it just drains your oxygen somehow. I don't know exactly how that works. It wasn't like he was moving so much that he didn't have any oxygen. It's just after he got bloodied up so much in the face, all of a sudden he's moving very slower. He's kind of staggering a little bit. And whenever he punches, he didn't have as much oomph behind his punches as he normally would. It was like he was very gassed after that. Maybe because there's a lot of blood in his nose and he couldn't breathe through his nose. And, you know, it's less effective to breathe through your mouth than it is through your nose. So I learned that in the military. So maybe that was it, where he could only breathe through his mouth, so he couldn't really keep his oxygen levels high, but he slowed down a lot, and he started teeing off a whole lot in round one, and actually returned fire on Hokit bad enough where he had Hokit hurt and retreating, but he just didn't have the gas to go after him and finish him off and get the kill. He tried to. He would go after him, he would swing, he would land a couple shots, and Hokit would kind of stagger away, flip Blades off, and then go back to them going back and forth. So he did that a whole lot in round one. So he scored way more strikes in round one, but then round two, it got a bit closer with, I feel, Hokit landing just a little bit more. And it was kind of the same thing where Hokit would hurt Blades, and then Blades would return fire, and they kind of went back and forth like that for rounds 2 and 3, with eventually Hokit just kind of edging him out in rounds 2 and round 3, so that's how he got the win.
Yeah, and Hokit, to his credit, realized he wasn't going to be able to out-wrestle this one, and chose to stand and bang, and he really impressed me with his stand-up skills. He's not crisp like Aspinall or Gone. He's not nearly as fast as them, but he's effective and he can take a punch.
Absolutely. His cardio was better than Blades, but I don't think that means his cardio was good, because he was also
Hokit is good at weaponizing pace. That's what's gotten him through his first 3 fights in the UFC, is that he's able to maintain that middleweight pace as a heavyweight.
Yeah. So he was unranked, and he just beat I think he's number 5. Let me confirm that. Yeah, he just beat number 5 ranked Curtis Blades, so he's going to shoot up to number 5. So normally this is where I would ask, what's next for Hokit? But we already know what's next for Hokit, because Dana White, before UFC 327 was even finished, before the next fight was even finished, he already announced what Josh Hokit's next fight was.
Yep.
At the White House card, he'll be facing Derek Lewis. Now, here's the thing. Hokett runs his mouth a whole lot. He does these weird, cringy WWE style promos. We talked about this last time he fought. Press conferences, everything he does is just a lot of that stuff. And it's annoying, but it's very effective what he's trying to do, and that's get attention. He's getting a lot of attention. If you're into MMA and you're on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram and you follow any MMA pages, it's not going to take you long to scroll and see a post about Josh Hokett. What he's doing is working whether we like it or not. And he got so much attention. I think if he wouldn't have been running his mouth, if he'd just been like a normal guy and got a victory on Blades, then cool, you just jumped up. Whatever, You're
just another nondescript heavyweight
that we'll keep an eye on later in the future. You look good job, but that's it. Him running his mouth got everyone's attention. It got the president of the United States attention, and he was like, who is this guy? I want to see him fight again.
I want to see him get shut up.
Maybe, but President Trump's favorite fighter is Derek Lewis, and he's like, Derek Lewis is not on the White House card, and that's my favorite fighter. I want to see him on the White House card. Dana, what can we do? So right there at the table at UFC 327, before the next fight was even done, Dana White goes live on social media and says, we just talked to a few people, and it's confirmed. Josh Hokett versus Derek Lewis at the White House card in June. That's just
at least an American will win that fight.
It has to. It's American versus American.
Yeah.
Derek Lewis, originally from New Orleans, by the way, but he fights out of Texas.
Well, he's a turncoat then. How dare he go and represent Texas?
I'm a turncoat. I'm from California, but I represent Louisiana.
Ooh.
You're not going to touch that one?
Right. Not with a 10-foot pole. All right. Up next, thank God that Hokett and Blades was a banger, because Reyes and Walker was the pits.
So we'll go ahead and, before we get too far into that, I will say that every fight on this card was actually really fun to watch. Every single one of them, with the exception of this fight. To be fair, there are actually two fights I've missed because I was handling something. I had to go pick up some pizza for the kiddo and myself, and I ended up missing two fights. I missed the Suarez versus Godinez fight, and I missed the Gamrot versus Ribovic fight. But I saw all the other fights from the early prelims up, and actually every single fight, every single one of them that I saw was actually a really fun fight. All of them, with the exception of this one. This was a stinker.
Yeah, the guys spent the whole time trying to find their range, and neither one ever figured it out.
I think part of the problem is both of these guys, especially late in their career, especially late in Reyes' career, both these guys have really good knockout power, but they both have glass chins. So I think that actually was part of the problem, that they're both fighting kind of timid. They weren't really doing a lot. Like both of them just ended up being a split decision, 29-28. Reyes won. I honestly was so disconnected. Like the fight was so inactive that I wasn't looking at it and trying to think, okay, who won that round? Who won this round? It was so inactive that I just didn't care.
Kickboxers to be so boring that you wish for wrestling.
Right. It was so inactive. I just didn't even care who won. So when it went and they started doing like the split decision thing, I'm like, I'm not going to be mad at whoever wins because both of them did so little. One of them has to win unless it's a draw, but for there to be a draw, you need either a point deduction or something like that, or a 10-8 round, and neither of those things happen. So we have to have a winner and a loser here, and I was like, I don't even care who they give it to because it was really close. The little bit that I did see, it was close, but it was not entertaining close. It was just like, who did less, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, who was the most of the least inactive?
Yeah, who was less inactive, basically. And it was, I don't know what else to say about this fight. It was kind of disappointing because, especially Johnny Walker, the last handful of fights has looked really good. He is very athletic, and whenever he pours it on, he looks really good. I argue that he was actually taking it to Ankalaev until he got caught. So Walker does have talent, but whenever you're not really doing anything, just kind of dancing around and occasionally pawing at your opponent, I'm not going to be mad if you lose. So I have nothing else to say about this fight. I don't know if you have anything else.
Nope, it was a snooze fest, and I will not be as excited to see Johnny next time when he comes out.
Right. And same for Reyes. Look, I like Reyes. but it's clear that his
Reyes in
glory
his
days.
prime,
Yeah,
it can be argued he beat John Jones.
but this
But
ain't.
Reyes now,
Yeah, this ain't it.
no, I mean, he's right at the golden ratio to be a Koopa Troopa.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we talked about the light heavyweight division and all the questions surrounding it, and like who's going to be next in line based off their performances. It's clearly not these two guys. They didn't
No.
move the needle. That's it. That's all there is to say about it. They're gonna maintain their spots in the rankings roughly. I don't know where they're ranked currently.
10 and 12.
Yeah, 10 and 12. Is Reyes up or Johnny up?
Reyes is up.
So that means that their positions are likely not going to change. Actually, they might go down a little bit because you're going to have Paulo Costa, who's not ranked, is going to shoot up in the rankings. So they might drop a spot or two. Yeah. And yeah, that's all there's to say about it. All right, now moving on to this next fight. I'm mad at myself, Roy. You know that? I'm very angry with myself.
Yeah, we both mistook the reality of the situation on this fight and should be ashamed.
Hear me out. I have been a Cub Swanson fan for a very, very, very long time. I've always rooted for him in his fights. I don't care who he's fighting, unless it's like a local guy or something. But always been a big fan of Cub Swanson. His last few fights, he's looked really impressive. And I was texting you guys like, you guys need to watch Cub Swanson fight. It was so good. And it was announced that this was going to be his last fight. And I was like, Cub might win this one. Then I started looking at like the recent performances, last handful of performances, and Cub looked good, but he looked good against people that he should look good against. And Nate has looked a bit better against, for the most part, better competition. So when I looked at just the numbers, I was like, I hope I'm wrong, but I think Nate's going to take this one. And even in the text message chain, I was like, I kind of think I need to switch my pick to Cub. And I did say that, but I never did officially do it. So my prediction going into it stuck with Nate. And I'm mad at myself for that. That would have been at least 1 point on my predictions I could have got. But at the end of the day, I am happy that Cub won because I am such a fan, and he looked great in this fight. After a performance like that, I'm like, are you sure you need to retire? Because you look damn good in this fight.
Yeah, Cub looked excellent. I was expecting this to be a long, drawn-out battle. I did not expect to knock out in round one. This Cub looked phenomenal.
Yeah, he was just putting together combinations really well. He was moving really well. His footwork was good. His timing, his speed, his power, like everything, like was just on point. I don't remember any grappling exchanges. It was just striking, and in every single category, Cub looked fantastic. And some people at first thought it was an early stoppage, but when they showed like a different angle, whenever Cub hit Nate one more time, Nate kind of fell and kind of flopped forehead first on the canvas, and that's when the ref jumped in, and then the ref jumped up and started trying to grapple the ref, Herb Dean. So it's like, okay, yeah, that was legit. I don't know what to say, man. That was a great way for Cub to go out. I'm very happy for him. I'm very happy for the career that he's had. Big kudos to an absolute warrior and a legend retiring in Cub Swanson.
Yeah, absolutely. He did it right. He went out on top with an impressive victory, and that's all you can ask of the guys who have given you so many great fights to watch and to enjoy. When a career like that comes to an end, you just don't want to see them go out, knocked out or something messed up.
Yep.
So seeing him win was worth it. I was really happy.
Yep. So it's basically it for the main card. Now, something I didn't notice until just now, looking at the full list of the card. So you have a few decisions sprinkled in here or there, but you also have some finishes. On the main card, all the finishes were KO, TKO. On the prelims, every finish was a submission. Interesting. So you still had a good bit of decisions here. So two of these finishes I didn't even get to see, the two that I missed, the Gamrot versus Rivich and the Suarez versus Godinez, and they were both arm triangle choke submission wins. Or I'm sorry, one was a rear naked choke, one's an arm triangle choke. So I missed two of those submissions. I'm probably going to have to go back and watch those. There was Vicente Luque versus Kelvin Gastelum, sorry. And that was a really good one. Gastelum is trying really hard to get out of this anaconda, but Vicente Luque just held onto the anaconda, kept getting it tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter, and then eventually he hooked the leg. When you hook the leg, you're just stuck and you're just getting choked, and he had to tap to that. I don't think we need to go into every single one of these fights and break them down, one for one, but I will say the other fights that I watched that went to decision, like Raheem Prado, Pico Pitbull, Holland Brown, especially Holland Brown, all those fights were really fun to watch. And if you have time, you haven't seen them, you want to go back and watch some fun fights, go ahead and go watch those fights. I don't think we need to break down every single one of those, but there is one fight that I really need to talk about, and that is Chris Padilla versus Markel Medeiros. I just do not understand the scoring of this fight, and a lot of people are upset online about it. And a lot of times I'll see people arguing, saying that this fighter was robbed, and I'll say, it was close. It's not really a robbery. This is one that there's a lot of controversy surrounding this one. So Padilla missed weight.
They announced it.
Right.
They announced it, that it was a victory for Padilla, and then they overturn it.
Yes. And not only did they overturn it, I mean, that's part of the controversy. There's more to it. So if you look at the numbers on the stats of this fight, Padilla landed more in every single round by a lot in the first couple of rounds. There was a point deduction in the third round. The third round was the closest when it comes to the strikes landed. But there's also a point deduction. So let's say you give it to Medeiros, the third round that is, with the point deduction because of the eye pokes. At most, he gets a 9-9. But that round's even close enough that you could possibly give it to Padilla. I remember watching that fight. I was honestly a bit distracted while I was watching that fight. I was really busy yesterday, so I had my tablet up and I was watching with my headphones while I was putting up laundry. And I would look at the fight for a few seconds, and I fold a little bit close, look back, watch the fight for a few seconds. So I was honestly distracted. But I remember whenever it was come to decision, I said, I think we're about to have another 30-26. Side note, we had a 30-26 in the opening fight for the same thing. It was someone winning 30-27, but there was a eye poke point deduction. So the final result was 30-26. And I texted the boys saying, hey, look, I think we're about to get another 30-26, two in the same night, because I think this guy Padilla probably won all three rounds. But to be fair, I was a bit distracted because I was doing laundry. So whenever they started announcing it and they said 28-28 draw, and then the other two were 29-27 for Padilla, I was like, okay, all right, so it looks like Medeiros squeezed in one round somewhere in there, but Padilla still won, and that seems fair. I don't know how one guy gave him a draw, but whatever, Padilla won, that's all fine. And then I actually missed it because it was during the fight that I didn't get to see, the Suarez versus Godinez fight. While that fight's going on, the announcement team said to the audience, hey, for those of you that missed it, they actually overturned the win. They announced Padilla won, but apparently they read the scorecards wrong, and it was actually a majority draw. Two of the judges had it scored a draw, and one judge had it for Padilla 29-27. So I don't know if overturned is the correct term, because overturned would mean that they officially punched it in that way, and then because of some controversy, they changed it. It's more like they announced it wrong and they're correcting the announcement. So it's not technically an overturn, but I just don't understand how Medeiros won this fight. So again, you could look at the numbers, you could Google this. Padilla landed more in every single round. It was honestly close in the third round. Medeiros was landing a bit cleaner in some of the exchanges, but still not enough to win at least two of those rounds. The only way that he could get a draw is if he wins two of those rounds, and the point deduction third round would make it 28-28. How do you give Medeiros two rounds? I just don't understand. The third round, honestly, he should have had 2 points deducted, because there's one point where Padilla takes him down, and Medeiros gets back up by grabbing the fence. That's a big no-no, especially in a way that you could change the flow of the fight. He was on all fours, he couldn't get up, and he grabs the fence with two hands and pulls himself up. And the announcement team, Joe Rogan and them, were like, hey, you just grabbed the fence, and not supposed to do that. That's illegal. And the ref did nothing. And then shortly after that was where there's the eye poke, and then the ref took away a point for that. It was messy, and the fact that they called it for Padilla, then they later changed it to a draw. Padilla's team is trying to appeal it. And I had Padilla winning at the very least two rounds, maybe even three, because the third round was kind of close. I don't see how in the hell you could give Medeiros 2 rounds here for it to turn out to be the draw, like it said. And even the people online were saying that even without the point deduction, Padilla should have won this fight. And I agree. So What's your take on it? I know I've been ranting a long time. This really bothered me. I rewatched the fight this morning to make sure I wasn't crazy because, as I said, I was kind of distracted when I watched it yesterday. So I pulled it up this morning to watch it again. And the only thing that changed was instead of me giving 3 rounds to Padilla, I gave him 2 rounds. But it still has him winning. So what's your take on this fight and the weird scoring and the changing of the scores and all that stuff?
If you don't like the way the judges do their job, don't leave it in the hands of the judges.
I know that's such an overused phrase.
But
and I understand it's true.
Like, the judges do some wonky stuff.
Well, it is true. I don't think that should just be the excuse every time we see this kind of stuff. I think we have a big problem with judges. Like, sometimes people are just really hard to put away. And if they are, you're going to have to leave it in the hands of the judges. We can't help it. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 decisions last night. Judges are needed for a reason. And when you have people that should be getting wins that are not getting wins, it's messing up their careers.
The solution is really simple. We need more judges. You need a bigger panel of judges so that you get a better result.
I suppose it's very frustrating. I don't know what to say on that. No, it's frustrating to see.
Yeah, when they announce that there's a winner, you gotta have that stand, because this stuff of guys going behind the scenes and trying to get stuff changed, it just is a bad look for the UFC.
Yeah.
You know, they've got to look like they've got their stuff together, if nothing else. And right now, I think they're getting caught with their pants around their ankles.
And what do you think is going through Padilla's head? Like, he has announced that he knows he won that fight. He outworked him pretty much the entire fight. He got takedowns. He landed more strikes. The only really good thing that Medeiros did was in round 1, the round that he still lost. He landed he snuck in a really good elbow in there and got a split on him in the first round. But like, outside of that, like, Padilla still outworked him. Padilla just pretty much dominated him almost an entire fight and has a point deduction. So he's like, yeah, I definitely have this victory in the bag. He gets announced as the winner, goes back. He's probably changing, getting his gloves cut off and all that kind of stuff. Then someone's got to come up to him like, hey, by the way, I know we told you won. We told you won, but we messed up. It's actually a draw. I'd be pissed. I would be livid.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how he responds to this, because it's real easy to be upset over this level of incompetence.
Yeah. I mean, there's incompetence from them announcing the wrong winner. There's incompetence when it comes to the judging. There's incompetence with the ref not taking away another point, or at least addressing like, hey, he's pulling himself up by the cage. You can't do that. So go back down, so he could at least maintain that position. There was so many things working against Padilla. I'm fully in his corner. I know some people are kind of giving him a bit of a hard time because he missed weight by a few pounds and had to be a catch weight. But he
gave up 20% of his purse.
Right, that's the punishment.
It's a balance.
Right, yeah. None of the other stuff should matter. Like, at the end of the day, like,
it's 3 pounds. That's not what they're actually fighting at that weight anyway.
Yeah, and for those of you who didn't know, he actually came in on short notice. It's part of the reason why he missed weight, because he came on such short notice that he just struggled to make those few extra pounds. So I'm not holding that against him. I'm fully in Padilla's corner. They're trying to appeal it, and honestly, I've seen a few times before where something happened, some controversial scoring or even a controversial finish, and camps came out saying we're going to try to appeal this. I've never once seen an appeal go through. I've seen match results get overturned because of the athletic commission looked at this and said, oh, he failed the drug test, so we're going to overturn this to no contest. That kind of stuff happens, but in cases like this where a fighter feels like they're treated unjustly and they said, we're going to appeal this, I've never seen that be successful. So they're going to try to appeal it. I don't think anything's going to happen. I'm pretty sure it's going to stay what we see.
If it does happen, it'll be a year and a half from now, and it won't be relevant to anybody anymore.
Correct. And I think it's very unfortunate. I'd be very mad if I was in Padilla's shoes. So I'm fully in support of him to, get some type of, I don't know the right word for it, like get some type of retribution or something, I suppose. I don't know. It's frustrating. I feel for him. I think it's really unfortunate the way he's treated. I think if nothing else, something that the UFC could do is they look at his situation like, okay, he was pretty much screwed over here. Let's not let this draw hold him back. Let's go ahead and give him a good fight, a good ranked person to move up so he can move past this draw and not have it affect his career too much. I think that's probably the best we can hope for. But outside of that, it's very frustrating, and I feel really bad for Padilla after this situation.
Yeah, because Padilla's been on a heck of a win streak, and a draw ending that really sucks.
Oh, yeah. I mean, let's look here. Let's see if I can pull up his stats.
This would have been his 8th win in a row.
Wow. Yeah, so
he had not, prior to this, his last loss was in 2022 in May. So 4 years ago.
Yeah, that's pretty active.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
fought 3 times in 23, twice in 24, twice in 25, and once in 26 so far.
Yeah. I think they need to give him a good opponent, a good ranked opponent, and not let this, like, basically treat it as if he won. Like, yes, his record will show draw, but let's treat him in the matchmaking as if he won, because that is feasible. I've actually seen that happen before.
Yeah.
So,
did Dana say anything in the post-fight press about this decision?
I didn't watch the post-fight presser, so I don't know. But that could be something. Maybe next week. If there's any fallout from anything that happened on this card when it comes to, like, say, the light heavyweight division or the Padilla fight, if there's any news that drops, maybe next week we could mention that so we keep up to date on that. But I haven't seen anything on that. I haven't watched the post-fight press conference. But
okay,
it's still really frustrating. So we have an event next week in Canada, a fight night with not a lot of big names here. Main card, the main event should be good. Are we ready to talk about it next week? I don't really have any notes or anything or predictions ready, but I could at least kind of brush over next week's event if you want.
I didn't prepare anything, so whatever you want to do, brother.
Hey, me neither. I'm just looking at it right now. This is a card with not a lot of big names here. Charles Jourdain and Kyler Phillips, like, I know those names. That's the co-main. Below the co-main, it's a bunch of names I don't recognize for the most part. The main event should be good, though. You have Gilbert Burns versus Mike Malott. So,
yeah.
A good veteran fighter in Gilbert Burns, big name in the jiu-jitsu community, fighting a rising up-and-comer who's 13-2, who's also black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Gilbert Burns is known for being very renowned Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioner in the UFC, and he's going against another black belt in jiu-jitsu who's currently 13-2, 3-fight win streak. But he did lose to Neil Magny. Oh, is that one of the ones? I think that's the same guy who was beating Neil Magny until Neil Magny turned it around and gave us, like, a really cool comeback. I think this is one of those fights.
You mean Malott?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, that was in 2024. So, because there was 2 fights that Neil Magny had a really nice comeback on, and there's one after we started the podcast, one before. So this is the one before, where he was just getting completely outworked by this guy, and he was like, I'm going to take you down and smash you. And it was at the very end of the 3rd round. If the fight would have gone 15 more seconds, he would have probably lost by decision. But Neil, that is. But he ended up getting a finish on this guy, Mike Malott. But still, 13-2 overall. His other loss was in 2014, early in his career. So this dude could be pretty dangerous going against a veteran in Gilbert Burns, who's been hit or miss lately. I don't know. The rest of this card, there's not a whole lot to talk about. It could be one of those ones where it's like, even though there are a bunch of no names, we could get exciting fights or maybe not. You don't know, but it doesn't have a lot of star power for sure.
There is one heavyweight fight on the prelims. Tanner Bozier, the Dozer Bozier. He looked impressive in his last outing. And then this other guy's name is Gokhan, which, I mean, if you're a Dragon Ball fan.
You nerd.
Yeah. So we'll see. Maybe this will be another entrance for somebody into the upper echelon to heavyweight. Get that division moving again.
Tanner Bozier is on a 2-fight win streak, but before that he had a pretty rough run. He's 22-10, so he's a Koopa Troopa, I guess.
Yep.
I like that term. I think we're going to start using that moving forward.
It works so much better than the word that we can't use.
Yeah, we just try to avoid like cliche words, especially if they're like being used too much, you know. I just think there's that one episode we did where I swear every other sentence I was talking about gatekeeper. Koopa Troopa. Journeyman. Journeyman's another overused word.
Saracam.
Gokhan.
Let me see. What does Gokhan's record look like here? See, he's coming off of a win. Decision. He hasn't had a knockout since 2021.
And he's a heavyweight? Crazy.
Yeah, Gohan hasn't fought since 2023 in June.
Where's this guy from? That name is so interesting. I want to know where he's from. I'm going to look it up real quick. He's from Istanbul, Turkey.
Yeah, I do not have high hopes for Gokhan.
This is going to be his UFC debut, it looks like. It's not his MMA debut, obviously, but it is his UFC debut. Yep.
Yeah. Well, he's not finishing people. That's going to have to change if he wants to climb the ladder in the heavyweight division.
Right. That's basically all I got on last week's event, next week's event, and I don't really have any MMA news to talk about. You have anything?
No, it's been a slow news week.
Yep. Well, it's probably going to be a busy news week this coming week because of all the fallout from UFC 327, but
yeah, we're
that
going to
hasn't
have
hit
to
yet.
find out what happens with Oldberg. That's going
a
to
big
be
one.
The biggest deal going forward.
Man, part of me just wishes that he would have just said, you know what, my knee's compromised. I can't fight. I won't be able to defend this title, so it would actually not be good for the division if I win the title. So maybe I should just sit down and accept the TKO. Yeah, it would have been better for the fans. It would have been better for the division. It would have been better for the UFC, but that's not what a warrior does. Oldberg proved that he is a warrior, compromised leg or not. He fought to the bitter end, and I just have tons of respect for him, and I wish him a speedy recovery. And that's really all there is to say to it.
Yeah, light heavyweight is going to go through another growing phase and growth is painful, but Oldberg will be there on the other side of it. I have no doubt that he'll recover from this. I'm
telling you, that title is cursed. I mean, I don't have the full chronology in front of me, but let me just spitball from memory here. You have Jamal Hill won the title years ago. If I remember correctly, it was vacated before that. I can't remember if Yuri had it first or Jamal had it first, but if I remember correctly, they both won it off of a title being vacated. You had Prohaska had to vacate it because he had an injury. When Hill had it, he had to vacate because he had an injury. At one point, when the title was in a vacated state, they had Ankalaev versus Jan Blachowicz ended up being a draw, so they weren't able to crown a new champion. And a lot of people said that that was a BS result, that it should have been Ankalaev that won it. Pereira gets the title. He does not get injured, at least immediately. He racks up a few title defenses, so it looks like the curse is over. But then he ends up losing to Ankalaev, and he claims he had an injured hand at that time. So it seems like a lot of injuries surround, this title. So he ends up losing the title to Ankalaev. He wins it right back, which means the curse went to Ankalaev on not being able to defend it just simply because he lost. And I think also he came out and claimed some type of injury as well. And then the current champion that we just crowned last night, Carlos Oldberg, literally injures himself while winning the title. This title is just surrounded by injuries. It's crazy. It just feels like it's cursed. We can't really keep a champion very long because everybody that gets it gets hurt or loses it quickly in some type of fashion. Yeah.
It's definitely a chaotic situation at light heavyweight, but it does keep it interesting with the title moving pretty regularly.
Wouldn't it be crazy if a year from now, when we're talking about the light heavyweight division, we're going to be talking about the former middleweight moving up to light heavyweight? We have champion Paulo Costa because Oldberg's still out on injury and no one else can beat him. I mean, he just beat an undefeated guy. I think the only undefeated person that's in the top of the rankings. Wouldn't that be wild?
That would be insane. And the reality is Costa's only 1 to 2 wins away from that. If he decides to be active
Yeah.
next year, we could be seriously talking about him as interim champion.
Mm-hmm. And he really does need to be more active, because if you've really paid attention to his middleweight career, he hasn't been the most active of fighters. So he would need to be more active, and he needs to continue fighting the way he just did, because he fought great. I saw him fight in New Orleans when he fought Kopylov, and he looked good, but he didn't look great. It was a pretty decent performance, not a bad performance by any means, but he didn't like blow me away like, oh my God, he looked amazing. He looked amazing last night.
Yeah.
Let's talk real quick about the bonuses before we hang up. Fight of the night, Josh Hokett versus Curtis Blades. Some people are saying probably greatest heavyweight fight of all time. Performance of the night, 2 people got the bonuses, Carlos Ulberg and Josh Hokett.
You got to give it to Ulberg. After
Absolutely.
blowing out his knee, of course that's performance of the night.
Yeah. Hokett also got a performance of the night, but on top of that, he was in fight of the night. Every single person with the bonus gets $100,000 for those bonuses, so he got $200,000 in bonuses. If you get a finish, you get a $25,000. But if you get performance of the night or fight of the night, if you're in either one of those, you get $100,000. He was in both of those, so very nice payday for Josh Hokett.
Yep, he's going to be one of the bigger stars moving forward.
I hate that you're correct.
Yeah, it's going to be painful to watch.
Like I said, though, he, as much as I don't like it, as cringy as I find it, what he's doing is working. It is 100% working. Like I said, if you are on any kind of social media, and most people are, if you're listening to this podcast, you are a fan of MMA, pull up whatever your social media of choice is, start scrolling your MMA pages, and see how long it takes you to see a Josh Hokett post. It won't take long. The dude is all over the place right now. He is a hot commodity, whether we like it or not. I still think he's cringy. I think he's annoying. I think he's very disrespectful. But what he's doing is getting eyes on him, and it is going to pay off for his career, because now, look, he's going against Derek Lewis, a man who is a legend and a future Hall of Famer. On the White House card, he was like handpicked like minutes after his previous win to fight in front of the president. He is doing the right things. Some people are asking, like, is this dude, because the way he acts, is he like a little, like, literally like off in the head? Like, does he have some type of mental issues? And I'm like, no. He has a very awkward
marketing genius.
He is. It's awkward, and it might be annoying, but he knows it's going to draw attention. He's doing stuff that other people aren't really doing. I mean, he is kind of copying certain things like pro wrestlers and a little bit of Chael
He's playing
Sonnen.
the heel.
Right. But it's working. It is absolutely working. Like I was just, when I was texting you guys earlier today, I said, I can't stand this guy. He's annoying. He's disrespectful. He's cringe. And the next time he fights, I'm going to be tuning in, hoping that he's going to lose. But that's the key. I'm tuning in.
Yeah.
So, well, that's all I got on UFC 327. That's all I got on next week's UFC event in Canada, Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. So
I hear it's beautiful this time of year.
I wouldn't know. I've never been to Canada.
Sorry.
Is it also beautiful in Louisiana? It's that time of year where it's like chill in the morning and 85 in the afternoon. It's crazy.
Yeah. As long as it isn't summer in Louisiana, I'm good. I cannot handle the summers down here. After living in Colorado, it is way too hot down here.
So for those of you not from Louisiana, when we talk about summer, what we're talking about is late April to October.
Yeah.
Maybe May if we have a mild spring. May to early October. Sometimes even late October. I remember sweating my butt off on a few Halloweens.
It was so weird coming back when I was living in Colorado for Christmas and leaving snow to come down to shorts weather.
Yeah, it happens. I remember Christmas and New Year's Eve in summer clothes, shorts and a t-shirt. We got a little bit of cold weather at the end of January. Finally, it's like, I guess we're not getting a winter this year. And then January hit and it's like, hey, we have a little bit of cold weather.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
give you a taste of it, and then we're going to take it away again.
Right.
Back to the blistering heat.
And then I was in Florida for Disney World, and I don't know if you've been to Florida a lot, but the weather's pretty much the same as Louisiana. It's like the same level of humidity, same temperatures. There might be a few differences here and there depending on which part of the state you're in, but I remember like anytime I've gone to Florida, the weather feels just like it does here. It's really not much different. And we went, it's that time of year again, April. It was end of March, beginning of April was the span of our vacation. I remember like we'd be chilly in the morning. We would walk outside and we're like, oh, it's chilly right now. Maybe we should grab a jacket. And I was like, do not bring a jacket because in about an hour, the sun's going to come up and then you're going to be really, really, really hot. And you're going to say, I don't want to wear this jacket anymore. And we're going to be walking around Disney World and you're just going to be carrying a jacket everywhere. Just leave it. You're going to feel a little chilly for about 30 minutes. Just deal with it. You'll be fine. And then sure enough, like it would go from chilly, like we'd be waiting for the buses to go to the parks. And I'm like, ooh, it's a little chilly right now. And then by the time we get to the park, we step off, we're sweating.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
The South is good for that. I'm not built for the South anymore.
Yeah, the spring and the autumn, it's weird because like the temperature changes, it just in one single day changes so much. Like when the sun hasn't quite come up yet versus when the sun is up, it could feel like just over a span of an hour, it could feel like you've gone through several seasons. Like you could be shivering 1 minute and then sweating the next minute just so quickly.
Yeah.
So, well, it's enough rambling about the weather in the South and Colorado and all that kind of stuff. So, fights, they were fun. UFC 327 was fun, with the exception of Reyes versus Walker. And there's two other fights I missed. I don't know if they're all that good or not. You said one of them was really good, though, right? The Ribovich
They
fight.
finished.
Yeah.
I mean, that alone means that there was action in them.
Right. So with the exception of the Walker Reyes fight, every fight on this card, even the ones that went to decision, were really fun to watch. This was a fun but very frustrating event overall. So we will be sure to tune in next week if there's any kind of follow-up with this card, any news to talk about. We will keep you guys updated. So once again, thank you for tuning in to the Ground and Pound cast. Make sure you tune in. Tell your friends if you love us. Tell your enemies if you don't love us. Keep the action going, and we'll keep the action going for all of you fine people. So have a good one.
Ground and Pound cast out.